Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. Talk about the Great Reset, but it's not quite what you think. How crypto can cause the Great Reset. And this bounces off the Korean video that I just did. Watch that one if you haven't. Basically, that video says young people, Generation Z and millennials are going far into debt to buy cryptos. They're basically borrowing a lot of money to buy cryptos. But I don't think that's limited to Korea. I don't think it's as prevalent in other countries, but I've heard a couple of you on my channel saying that you've actually borrowed money to buy crypto, which I personally think is a bad idea for the most part. Um, but the thing is, people don't just borrow money to buy crypto. They borrow money to do the best way to get wrecked since betting double zero at the casino, and that is they borrow money to leverage trade crypto. And that you're using that VPN with Binance or Bybit 100 to 1, 125 to 1. And, those people, some of the influencers have affiliate programs, I think, that basically pay out when people get liquidated. Now, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I've heard many rumors about that. And those affiliate programs, they have a lot of incentive for people to recommend leverage trading to other people that would actually get wrecked, because every time you get wrecked, the affiliates make a lot of money. So they have influence, they have interest in you actually getting wrecked. So be careful of referral programs with basically leverage trading. That is one of the reasons why Binance leverage trading is basically getting the hammer thrown at it. It's actually not Binance's spot trading that's in trouble. It's their leverage and margin trading that's getting them in trouble. So the thing is, like people are desperate to get rich. They want to escape the rat race. They do not believe that like working hard and saving up will actually work. And I can't really blame them for that, because kind of like jobs, I would say, like, not only in Korea but in the U.S., the situation's gotten worse and worse since the 50s, and that is because of income inequality. Like the CEO to worker pay has grown from like 60 to 1 to over 360 to 1. So CEOs comparative to their workers are making 60 times, no, 6 times more than they were back in like 1960 or so. Are they doing 6 times better? Are they worth 6 times more than they were back then? No, they're really not. But that's just how executive pay comes up, like how all our policies, all our politics have actually played out. It's because the fat cats control everything. Now, the thing is, how it actually caused the Great Reset is actually a lot of civil unrest, because people can actually get desperate enough. Because remember, back in the 50s and 60s, like for a family, only one person, usually the guy, had to work, and that was actually 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. That was actually enough to provide for a comfortable living for the entire family. Nowadays, both parents have to work, and it may not even be all that comfortable. That's actually how much the American standard has fallen. If it falls much further, people might get desperate, just like they are. Some of the younger people are in Korea, and they actually might start borrowing money to buy crypto, real estate, and stocks, and go far into debt. And they might actually do it to do leverage in crypto, because remember, it's much easier in crypto right now because it's kind of unregulated. So they might actually take advantage of that, and that's why these crypto regulations are actually coming. Now, we all know that leverage trade, most people get wrecked. There are a couple of people that get rich, but most people actually get wrecked. And if you have lots and lots of people getting wrecked, like millions and millions of people getting wrecked, that has a huge drag on the economy. If you have like a significant portion of the country getting completely bankrupted by leverage trading, which is actually possible, not likely, but actually possible. If that actually happens, the economy can actually go down the gutter. And that's not really the fault of the government. That's just people being stupid. Because, realistically, like the government can't really prevent a bunch of people from being stupid. Um, we've seen that time and time and time again. So if like a lot of people start doing this leverage trading stuff, they start getting liquidated and start getting wrecked, there's going to be civil unrest. Because when people are desperate and they run out of options, they don't just like go quietly into the night. They do whatever it takes to preserve their life. And if you have like this giant mob of tens of millions of people who are completely broke, completely destitute, and completely got wrecked, and now they're mad at some leverage trading company that's overseas, they're gonna try to take their anger out on something. And plus, the economy just can't really sustain that many people getting wrecked. Remember, like 2008 was the collapse of like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But you can just do that like times like 20 times 30 when like millions of people are getting wrecked because they're desperate to get rich. and they're actually getting wrecked instead of getting rich. And that's actually a way crypto can actually collapse the economy. But after that actually happens, it's not like, crypto just takes over everything. Then basically, like, the government can't handle that debt. People are rioting everywhere. And you get kind of like a situation with, if you're familiar with history, like how the Articles of Confederation fell apart in the early US history. Basically, the government, since they didn't have the power to tax, they couldn't actually provide for anything back then. So people couldn't really get anything from the government. People were actually going to jail because they went into debt because they actually fought in the Revolutionary War. The government can't do anything because they didn't have the power to do anything. The Articles of Confederation limited the government severely from doing just about anything. And so it couldn't tax, it couldn't enforce certain things. So there were rebellions everywhere. And that's actually why we have the Constitution today, because if we went on with the Articles of Confederation, the United States would have actually fallen apart. Benjamin Franklin actually went over to France, asked one of their princes to actually be our king. That guy refused because he told Benjamin Franklin that we didn't actually get too well along with our last king. Smart guy there. But yeah, if we actually have like have like desperate people have rebellions everywhere, and I'm not just talking about like stop the steal and all that stuff, because like the majority of the country doesn't actually believe that. But if like there's tens of millions of people, like a lot of the country actually gets desperate, and things don't really change, and plus like everyone's in debt where the banks can't really kind of like solve that kind of stuff, then you get a situation where the government's just not really able to mitigate and handle it. And that's a situation where the economy could actually collapse. And in that situation, like people will actually be bringing pitchforks, to the government houses, to like big businesses and stuff like that. And that's how you get a great reset. But it's a much, much darker version of a great reset, because that actually ends in anarchy. And in anarchy, it's not like this utopia that some people seem to imagine, like, oh, no government, that's awesome, people can do whatever they want. Yes, people can do whatever they want. That means they can take a shotgun to your house and force you to give them all your money. It's basically, at that point, it's basically the guy with the biggest shotgun generally wins. And that's kind of your great reset that crypto could actually cause. If South Korea starts repeating in other areas of the world and people get desperate enough, it's a very small chance, obviously, but it could actually happen. So that's your great reset. It's not exactly the great reset that you guys have wanted, and it's nothing like what you guys have imagined. But if you're really looking at a great reset being caused entirely by crypto, that is a kind of great reset that could actually be caused by crypto. I give it like a 0.01% chance of happening. But it's not impossible if people get desperate enough, if the job market and employment market gets bad enough, if asset inflation gets bad enough. That kind of scenario can actually happen, because people will actually get desperate. They'll try to leverage trade. Most of them will lose. And you have like tens of millions of losers who are completely bankrupt. Majority of society can't really afford like a house or can't afford housing or rent. And then people will actually riot. And at that point, the government completely collapses. And then whoever has the biggest shotgun will basically rule their section of land. Well, their corner of whichever state they're actually in. So that is something we can actually think of. So you don't actually want the Great Reset, because the Great Reset, if it actually happens, would actually kind of suck. So that's my news and spiel for today. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.